Hey there, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid Garage. So today we're going to take you through the process of installing Brown Dog motor mounts on David's, what year is this?
1996.
1996 Jeep Cherokee. This is a really cool rig. He's done a lot of work to it. Today we're doing the motor mounts because his are just completely worn out. These from Brown Dog were given to us for this installation and review. Brown Dog has an excellent reputation though among Jeep owners, really high-end, good quality stuff. Their website will be linked in the description below. So these motor mounts were given to me by Brown Dog for this project, and we're going to take you through the installation process. It's fairly easy. First thing we got to do is actually disconnect the transmission mount. And the reason we have to disconnect the transmission mount is because we have to take the weight off of the engine. We're actually going to jack the engine up just a little bit to take the pressure off the motor mounts. So before you do that, step one, loosen up the transmission mount. His XJ has 4 nuts that hold the transmission mount. That's what he's undoing now. And while David is under there working on the transmission mount, I'm going to start fiddling with the airbox because the airbox has to come out as well. Try to do it one-handed while you're holding the camera is tough. So yeah, we'll take the airbox completely out. So we're going to hit the bolts that we're going to be taking off with some PB Blaster. That's always a good idea early in your project to start it loosening up. So we've got that bolt on the mount right there we're going to be taking off. And then you have the through bolt that actually goes through the mount. There's one other bolt down underneath on the bottom of the part that's attached to the frame here. Underneath there, we got to hit that with a little bit of PB Blaster as well. Yeah, there it is, up under there. Okay, next David is going to jack up the engine a little bit. We've got a bottle jack with a 2x6 there on the oil pan just to take some of the weight off the engine. Now the instructions say to do the driver's side first, so that's what we are doing. I'm going to take the nut off of the through bolt because this is how we're going to tell that all the weight is off the engine. And this nut and through bolt, we're going to reuse these, so be sure to keep track of them. And once this nut is off and this bolt is, you can spin it freely. That's how I'm gonna have David jacking the engine up. And when I can turn this pretty freely, so let's go up a little higher, David. Okay. There we go. So now I can spin this by hand, so I know the weight is off of the mount. So now we can take off the 2 bolts on the mount, the top one and that one underneath that we put PB Blaster on. Take those guys off, and then we should be able to pull the driver's side mount out here. Now with those 2 bolts off, David's trying to pull that through bolt out. I think we have 95% of the weight off of it.
Yep.
We're almost there. There we go. There's a stud still going through the mount into the frame. We should be able to pull it out. We might end up having to take the bracket off the engine. Hopefully not. But let's try to just pull it out of there. Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Lifted right out.
That is really worn out.
That is a worn out mount. Yeah, any of these older 90s vehicles, these mounts are just worn out. Time to change them. Just gonna wire brush off the surfaces where the new mount's gonna go. So on the hardware, we're gonna use the bolt and washer on the driver's side. The little nut that comes with it, this is gonna go on the passenger side. So if this mount, like if it's giving us issues getting it down in there, this is the rubber mount, so you can use a little bit of ivory soap. Those are according to the instructions from Brown Dog. This one actually on David's bracket, it slid right in, no problem.
Yep.
So that little stud fit down in there nicely. Now we can put the bolts in. I don't think it talks about using Loctite, but I think we should use a little bit of blue Loctite.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt.
And there is a little side-to-side movement, so we've got the 2 bolts in for the motor mount, but now we're going to put the through bolt in just loosely. Then we're going to tighten the 2 bolts to the frame. So we're adding a washer on each side of the through bolt before we put it in. Or actually a washer on one side, then we'll put the bolt through, then the washer on the other side. Because it would be impossible to put them both on and have one be on each side.
Or just push on it.
Push on it, there you go, he got it. Now we can get the other washer on and the nut just loosely, and we'll start on the driver's side, or passenger side. This is the driver's side. So on the passenger side, especially with the air conditioning in the way, this side is going to be more challenging. We might have to remove the bracket, at least the instructions actually say to remove the bracket off of the engine and the mount all as one. We're going to try to push some of these AC lines out of the way and get to the mount without removing the entire bracket off of the engine. We'll let you know how that goes. The AC is just in the way. So I think this would definitely be easier if you didn't have AC.
Yeah.
You just need to get a Wrangler and take the top off. Alright, this is the magic moment to see if David could rustle this thing out of there without taking the mount off. Or without taking the bracket off of the engine. Is it a boy? Hey, he got it! It is possible to do without taking the bracket off the engine. Maybe not easier, but it's possible. And the passenger side mount is going in. Tootsie's checking out our work. How we doing, Toots? Alright, we got the through bolt loosely installed with new washers on each side and a little bit of blue thread locker on the nuts that are going to go on the mount to the frame. And it says the torquing on those is just good and tight. And this is the best part of working on the project with David. Those of you that don't know who David is and why we're working on his XJ, David's my son-in-law. But the best part about working on this, I don't have to get my hands dirty. Like, well, they get a little dirty, but he does all the work. I can sit back, have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, watch him and hand him tools. Right?
Yeah.
And a special thank you to Brown Dog for sending us these motor mounts. I've always been super happy with their products. Like I said earlier, their website is linked in the description below. Okay, we got the top nut and the bottom nut on the motor mount tightened down. The through bolts are in just loosely. Now we are going to tighten down the driver's side through bolt first. So now we're going to tighten down the through bolt until the washers that we installed. So the washer we should be able to spin by hand. We're going to tighten it down until it doesn't spin anymore. Then we're going to back the through bolt off a quarter of a turn, and we should be able to just kind of barely move the washer, and that's how we know we're at the correct torque. So David tightened down the through bolt until those washers were tight. Now we're going to back it off just a little bit, kind of like I explained, until one of the washers on either side, we can move it just a little bit. I don't think they both have to move freely, but as long as you can move one of them. And then if you're getting a lot of vibration, one of the tips that is in his installation sheet, if you're getting a lot of vibration, back off the through bolt another quarter of a turn. Do that a couple times until the vibration kind of goes away. Now, passenger side is done. Next, we're gonna let the weight back down and tighten down the transmission bolts. And finally, we're gonna put the airbox back in, double check that we got all the tools out of the way, everything is torqued down back in its place, and we're done. We're gonna take it on a quick test drive. How's it feel?
Feels good to me.
No extra vibration? No. Feels good. Turned out well. So actually went fairly easy. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
It was actually not a bad project at all. We did it in one evening with filming. Didn't take that long. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your support. Be sure to check out my next video right up here. Have a good day.